now well in the motherland. The republic is descending, or the republic is gravitating in chaos and crisis. I repeat, the Liberian Republic is descending in chaos and crisis under footballing President George Manuel Weah, a man who does not even understand the fundamentals of leadership and governance. We took our entire country, called Liberia, and turned it over to him, along with his cohort of thieves. So what is happening in Liberia right now is what I describe as monumental contradiction. Monumental contradiction. We are not going to get any outcome, any result from the Weah-led government. Why? Because the government is not only corrupt, the government is also clueless, insensitive to the plight of the ordinary people. The CDC-led government is a direct opposite of accountability and transparency. So what can you get out of a government like this? That's the characterization of the CDC-led government. No other way to say it. No other way to say it, fellow Liberians, except you have other ways to say it. But there is no other way. That's why we told our people, protest or perish. No other way. We only have two options right now. Two options. And the two options we have, fellow Liberians, on one side of the coin, we have protest, P-R-O-T-E-S-T, protest. On the other side of the coin, we have perish, P-E-R-I-S-H. Either we protest or we perish. So it is up to the Liberian people to decide which one of these options they will consider. But for me, I'd rather protest than perish. There is no tearaway. Protest or perish, no tearaway. You only have two ways. Now, so today we have a lot to talk about. The first thing we'll talk about autopsy, pathologists, and fights. You will get to know everything you need to know about those pathologists, those government-sponsored pathologists. Dr. Benedict Kollie and Dr. Zobon Pade. A lot of you have been following the analysis on my page. I just released a 6-page analysis. 6-page analysis. I just released. It's on my page. Go on my page. The title of the analysis is Facts, Assumptions, and Circumstances on Autopsy. For short, you call it FACA, F-A-C-A. That's how I'll describe it. You know, that's the acronym. FACA, F-A-C-A. Facts. The first thing is facts, assumptions, circumstances on autopsy. So if you go there, you will read the 6-page analysis I provided. However, I'm going to give you a brief. We are going to talk about who the pathologists are. We are also going to talk about autopsy, whether they are the appropriate pathologists to conduct forensic. I will tell you. I will tell you the difference between anatomic pathology. I will tell you the difference between anatomic pathologists, clinical pathologists, as well as forensic pathologists. I will also talk about the ongoing rigmarole between family members of the deceased and the government. I'm going to give you some inner facts. You know, this morning I spoke to the husband of the late Gifty. You know, he sent me a recording. You know, he said, Martin, you can play for the people to listen what's going on. You know, I will not play anybody's recording without permission. He permitted me to play. So I'm going to play this recording directly from the husband of the late Gifty Asma Lama. All right, he spoke succinctly on this audio I will play. You will listen to him, how the government is compromising the case, how the government intends to undermine justice. You'll listen to him very clearly on this audio I will play for you. I'm also going to play another audio, and this is from the pursued editor of the Parrot newspaper. Are you aware that the government is pursuing journalists now? Especially journalists who are very critical and vocal of this particular murder case? Are you aware? And one of those critical investigative newspapers, is the Parrot News. And the editor of the Parrot News, Julius Jason, is currently on the run. Samuel Twe, along with his people, have Samuel Toy, along with his people, has instructed the NSA to arrest Julius Jason for reporting the truth of my people. So I'm going to play the voice of Julius Jason. He sent me an audio as well explaining his ordeal. So you're going to hear a lot of things today. The show is going to be very, very interesting. Don't go away. Keep hitting the share button. We're also going to lay our thoughts on the RRA, latest communication to the Secretary of State of the United States of America, Mark Pompeo. The Institute of Internal Auditors. That's the umbrella organization of all internal auditors in the world. They are in 200 countries. They have over 200,000 members. So this is not a small organization. So they formally communicated with the U.S. government through the State Department, directly through the office of the Secretary of State, Mark Pompeo. So we're going to talk about that letter, the significance of that letter. As I speak to you, if you go on Yahoo News, the entire letter has been published. Do you know how many millions and billions of people follow Yahoo? The letter is on Yahoo. Yahoo News. So, if George Weah thinks that nothing will come out of this case, those of you who know George Weah, you're telling he's joking. How will you invite the U.S. government to intervene and you are rushing with autopsy? We're all waiting for their response. We're all waiting for their reply. George Weah just rushing. It means he has a motive. Those of you watching this podcast, let's face the reality, right? Martin Kollie, right, invites the government of the United States of America. In less than 24 hours, Martin Kollie did not wait for any reply, any response from the U.S. government. He decides to go ahead with this same investigation that he's inviting the U.S. government to intervene. Does that make sense to you? You invited the U.S. government. I thought you're supposed to wait even for 2 days or 3 days or even 1 week and listen what they will say or what their response will be. Based on their response, you can continue the autopsy investigation or the forensic investigation as you claim. But they didn't do it. He verbally invited the U.S. government. Is that how to even invite U.S. government? Verbally? You saw what RRA did? Formal letter. I challenge seditions to show me where did President Weah invite the U.S. government. Formally, officially. Show me the communication. Requesting the U.S. government to intervene. I challenge anybody to show me. Show me that communication and I will show you the RRA communication to the U.S. government through the Secretary of State. Show me. Let's be fair. Who told you by sitting on the radio and releasing press statement is an invitation to the U.S.? Do these people really understand diplomatic channels? Do they really understand international relations and diplomacy? These people didn't go to school. They didn't go to school. So I'm going to talk about that as well. The formal communication written by the president and CEO of RRA, the Institute of Internal Auditors, the body that is responsible for all internal auditors across the world. We will give our thoughts relative to that communication, and we will also justify why regional bodies need to also intervene. This is not a small case, eh? That thing George Weah them doing, say they hire their own pathologist to investigate. You joking? How you hire your own pathologist to investigate when you are at the center of this whole, murder case? You are the accused in fact. Then you say you hire your own pathologist to investigate. So let me play. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to play the voice of Mr. Lama. Listen to Mr. Lama. He was also on 50-50 today, Tima Gelate's show. I'm going to play his voice. Listen to him. Listen. Listen to what he's about to say. After he says what he is about to say, I will play the voice of Julius Jason, the journalist who is being chased and pursued in Liberia for reporting the story about how Emmanuel Niswa got killed. He's being chased right now. He's being chased. He almost got killed on the orders of Samuel Toy and others. So listen to Mr. Sylvester Lama.
Mr. Matthew Kollie. My name is Sylvester S. Lama, the husband of Mrs. Gifty Lama. On Friday, we were called by the Minister of Justice in person of Mr. Frank Musa D. Jr., the two families, and we informed them that we have no confidence in the systems, that we demanded that they should turn over the remains of our loved ones.
Is the volume low or
fitting burial?
Are you getting him?
They insisted that they will go ahead with their autopsy, but we told them that we don't have any confidence.
If the volume is okay, tell me. Just say yes, so I know.
The police.
That's the voice of Mr. Lama, Sylvester Lama, the husband of Gifty, the late.
The late Mr. Peter Vigo Kollie. My name is Sylvester S. Lama, the husband of Mrs. Gifty Lama. So,
okay, I will play again. Okay, all right. I thought it was very low, so I'm starting over. Listening to him.
Kollie. My name is Sylvester S. Lama, the husband of Mrs. Gifty Lama. On Friday, we were called by the Minister of Justice in person of Mr. Frank Jr., the two families, and we informed them that assistance, that we demanded that they should turn over the remains of our loved ones so we can give them fitting burial. And they insisted that they will go ahead with their autopsy, but we told them that we don't have any confidence, judging from what the investigation is all about. The police, for example, the day they were doing the search of the vehicles, in the late Mr. Peter Vigo, where my wife body and Mr. Peter body were driven by the criminals. We noticed that there was sand all on her shoe. I raised that issue with the police. The only justification the police gave me, that when they carried the bodies to JFK, the people who were taking the body from in the car, they were stepping all on the shoes and the seat. So I told him, say, no, the sand on my wife's shoe indicates that she was taken on the beach where she was murdered.
Wow.
Because if you see the shoes, it clearly indicates that you took somebody on the beach. So there was nothing that someone stepping on shoes that will put the sand on her feet. Well, then the police in question too, they called me too as it relates to identify her phone, which I did. The phone is still in the possession of the police. Mr. John Davis too was also called to identify Mr. Abel Peter phones and laptops. He did so. All of these items stay with the Liberian National Police. The person in question who bought the phone by the name of Ortega, the guy will give the Liberian National Police 900 US, is now parading the corridor as a free person.
Wow.
Then the supreme guy who answered my web phone,
wow,
all indication the police arrested him. We don't know his whereabouts. There have been no press conferences from both the Ministry of Justice and the Liberian National Police as it relates to the status of the so-called investigation that they are carrying on, that which is partial, to certify their own selfish aim as it relates to the death of our loved ones. The Justice Ministry too, we were clear to tell them that since the demise of our loved ones, there have been no official statement from the Ministry of Justice, the Executive Mansion, the government as it relates to even express their own sympathy or even condemning the action.
Can you imagine?
They have not done such. Then we also raised another issue with the Ministry of Justice as it relates to the Minister of Information, his own first official duty as Minister of Information, the interview he granted with the BBC, providing some misinformation and disinformation as it relates to the people's own status, that they were not auditors, that they were professional. But we told the minister that the Minister of Justice, the information minister is like he was sitting in he took something stronger than an alcohol because he don't even understand the inner working of LRA. The late Mr. Abel Peter was Assistant Commissioner for Audit. The Mr. Yinswa Dada, IAA, If you see all of these people were now auditors, they were professional, we think that alone is a slap in the back of justice. So we told them that they should turn over the remains. And the whole issue of the autopsy, we don't trust the government because these people are people who are hired by the government, paid by the government.
You're hearing it?
So far, that's how far we told them. So the so-called autopsy they carrying today, no family member, the both family, we told them will not be part and parcel of the entire kangaroo stuff that they are doing.
So, did you hear Mr. Lama? Did you hear what he was saying? Now, he also appeared on 50-50 Tima Jalade show. You know, when we're telling you these things, you don't believe us. So, Mr. Lama himself sent us this audio. He sent us this audio. So, we play for you, and you're about to listen to him briefly on 50-50 with Tima Jalade. Listen to some of the things he was saying. You know,
to fight corruption, Sky Communication is here. And the Aboriginal people are all should take the case back to Channel on Thursday. We went to Central. We went to the charge of court. Why did you go to Central? Because it was that street from in the morning. My wife went to work. They've been calling for 2 phones. They've been ringing. They've been no response.
Listen to you.
So we went to the police station, reported the case to the charge of court. They took us to the traffic division to find out whether there was any accident. Now they are talking about 9 p.m. now. Whether there was any accident. They did all of the checks until they said there was no accident. So the police advised that we check the hospitals. We proceeded to JFK. We went to the emergency ward, they checked the law. There was no guilty aspect. They put talk to the walls to check. We checked all the people now find. They went to calculate, went to almost all of the hospital. So we decided coming home because normally we have our prayer of morning division, devotion, night division. So we decided praying as family. At 2 a.m. in the morning, my sister-in-law, Friday morning that is, yes, Friday morning, at 2 a.m. in the morning, my sister-in-law by the name of Christina Asman died the number on a private. Often died my wife, lose that number on a private. A gentleman answered the phone. He said hello. But he did not cut the phone off. Then you understand it. So my sister-in-law was monitoring, then you could hear the guy knocking a door. Then you could hear him say, who's that? Then he said, that means Supreme.
Yeah.
Who's the Supreme now? The guy who answered the phone. The guy who answered the phone said that's been Supreme. You understand it? So you could see they open the door, then you see the guy waiting. My sister were still monitoring the phone. You could hear, some noise in the background saying, let's do it this way, let's do it this way. Because the guy noticed that the phone was on, the guy cut the phone, switched the phone off. So we started praying. So by 3, they died the second number. The second number, the person answered. So when you died the number, the guy said, so we asked the guy, well, can we talk to the person? He said, no, the person is okay. You will see your sister in the car in the morning. Then the guy was switching phone. But when I called, the guy would not answer because my wife phone stole them my husband. The guy would not answer. Well, if I text my wife's second number to you, and when you dial the number after 30 minutes, you know, second, when you switch your phone on, a message can come and tell you that the call is on. So if I text my wife's second number to you when you call, the guy will tell you the same thing. You will find her in the morning in the car.
Look at that guarantee.
The guy will switch the phone on.
Wow.
So after that, one day in the morning, so I decided about 4 a.m. and let's just say 3:30, I checked another taxi to go check around. Because when the guy told me she see the car, so we decided going around Monrovia, the Broad Street, opposite Cathedral where the body was discovered. We passed all there. The car wasn't there. No car was there. There was just no car was there. We went all over. You thinking about Lapasi, the Zoom, all over what was said.
You went there in the morning, no car was there.
Okay, so I called Moses to explain the situation.
These guys are wicked.
You just continue to check. One day in the morning by 6, I received a call. Moses said, oh, I just got information from the Liberia National Police that they informed
Moses Carroll now.
Yeah.
He called you.
Yeah, he called me. He said, oh, Lama, the police just informed me there's a Jeep on Broad Street and a female body is in the Jeep. See, I was that confused. It was good that I was not the one driving. The driver we got. Before we got there, the Commissioner General Hillary was there. See, Moses was there on the scene. Then the police denied us for seeing our body. They filed or pleaded with the Liberia National Police.
Wow.
They denied us for seeing our body. They drove the body, they carried the body to GFK. 2 cars, my wife's car, along with the superior car. They carried the body to GFK. We got to GFK. They also denied us of seeing my wife's body. From there, they took the body, they carried the body to Simose. But the only thing we saw was carried at Simose, because JFK were complaining that when they keep the body there, the system, they lack of electricity, so the body will decompose. So we all agreed with the LRA group to took the body that they should just preserve the body. There should be no embalming until an autopsy can be conducted. The next day on Saturday, they called us to Central. We did all of our statement. All what I explained to you, all the structure in our statement to Central. We did all of this statement. Then, on Monday, they called me, they said they wanted the driver number, all of this stuff. I went to Central. When I went to Central, the police informed me they want to search my wife's car, the 2 vehicles. Mr. Peter found
Where the bodies were.
No, yeah, because the body, well, they put the body, those who killed the murder my wife and Mr. Peter, placed the body in Mr. Peter's car.
Well, where was your wife's car by then?
The 2 cars are on Broad Street and line.
What are gonna do?
And you understand
One
it?
after another.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you understand it? So when we got to Central, they issued a talking about.
They kill those people. They kill them. You listening to the husband? We as government is a killer government. Let me tell you, for those of you who don't know.
So, knocking upon me, I have Mrs. Peter's number. I told Mrs. Peter's number, and I told her, Mrs. Peter, are you aware that the police is about to search your car? She said, Lama, tell them nobody touch my husband's car until I can get somebody. She sent somebody in the police. They opened the car, they searched my wife's car, all of them. What was in the car? He took down notes. I even provided money for them to even photocopy to give me copy to the police. Then we went to Mr. Peter's car. If Mr. Peter's car, when you open Mr. Peter's car, my wife's shoes were in Mr. Peter's car. The shoes that were in the are from West Point. I said, I'm commissioner West Point for people in the I know that when you go on the beach, when you take somebody on the beach or somebody go
You see the photo?
do something on the beach, you know that. So
This is the assassin. He's on this very same beach Mr. Lama is talking about.
The justification the policeman gave.
Ah, these people.
When we took the body to JFK, it was that difficult to remove the body in the car. Those who killed remove the body in the car, they don't want to step on it.
They just brought the car, Simose Jerry. That whole thing was set up.
So Sam was one of the white shoes.
You see the beach where they can kill people? This is Anthony Tauber, the new assassin. He was with Bill. He was with Bill Tico.
So where's Sam coming from? People who kill to take money from one car, from in the car.
And that Supreme man is part of his gang group. The Supreme that answered his phone is a member of his gang group. This is the assassin. These people are wicked.
Let's understand one thing about this of the car.
Now, so let me just go off on this. Now, fellow Liberians, I want to tell you a few things. You listened to Mr. Lama, right? Very succinctly, he was very clear. The first thing is, he said they went to the very same spot the first time to check for his wife and Mr. Peters. They didn't see those guys at the very same spot. Cathedral. Right. They came back for the second time before the cars were there. So, he said, when they started searching, he saw sand on his woman's shoe. The late Gifty Lama. And the sand that was on his woman's shoe was B sand. B sand. Last podcast, I told you the assassin, right? This is the real assassin. His name is Anthony Torbo. He has an entire gang group. You see him on the beach? This is where he takes his victims. He has an entire gang group. Go to my last podcast and you're listening to the entire explanation of who this Anthony Torbo is. He is Anthony Torbo alias Belchami. Belchami, right? They can call him Belchami. So this Belchami man is in this car with Bill Ticlo. And people want us to believe that Bill Ticlo is not part of those who assassinated those people. That's a lie. He's part of those who assassinated those people. This is the same Belchami. You see him? You see the military bell on his back? With this same shirt he was standing on the beach with? You see Bill Ticlo? They killed those people. This is the beach Mr. Lama talked about. This is the beach. You see him standing on the beach with the same black shirt? He's driving Bill Ticlo yet. Go ask anybody in Liberia. Belchami is a new assassin. New assassin. Everybody knows him. Former commander of ATU, Anti-Terrorist Unit, on Charles Taylor. Former commander of SOD, on Charles Taylor. An ex-rebel. Belchami. He's driving Bill Ticlo here, right? You see him? You see his face? Fellow Liberians? You see his face? You see how serious he is? You see how serious he is? And he's sweating. You see how he's sweating? I sent a lot of you these photos the other time. Then you see Madam, you see the position they put Gifty and Abra in? You see the Gifty nose? That's powder. They suffocated her with powder. You see the powder to her nose? Let me zoom it. You see the Gifty nose? You see the powder? They suffocated her with powder first before they could kill her. And they put her hand around Albert. They put her hand around Albert Peters. You know, these people, this is the same Bill Ticlo. He registered 2 times. A criminal like Bill Ticlo. He's with this assassin and people want us to believe that he's not an assassin as well. Who believes that nonsense? You know, look how the man sweating. And he's very serious. See how this man is serious and sweating. And he's on this beach. Same man is on this beach. The same beach Mr. Lama talked about not too long in the audio. They killed those people. Those of you watching this podcast, they killed those people. They killed those people. All the photos are here. I have shared with a lot of you already. They killed those people. They assassinated those people in cold blood. They assassinated those people. And the police talking about somebody step on her shoe. You see him beat on the woman's shoe, you say somebody step on her shoe? In the first place, you listen to Mr. Lama. How did Simose arrive on the scene immediately the car arrived? How? How did Simose manage to know that people are in that car and he just arrived? The owner of Simoses. How did Moses arrive on the scene? To just get hold of the body and carry quickly to his funeral parlor. How? How is that possible? Was he at his funeral parlor and heard that there was body there? No, he arrived immediately. Those dead bodies were discovered. Usually, see Moses is not around crime scene. No. They can invite him first before he comes. But this time around, nobody invited you. He just arrived. These people are wicked. Nobody invited him. See Moses just arrived on the scene just like that. Because he's a scientist. He knew that there were dead bodies on Broad Street parking, so he just arrived on the scene. Nobody invited him. You know? Yeah, I will post the photos. You know, these photos are very awkward, so I can post them on my page. I've been sharing with some people in their inboxes. You see how they killed Gifty? Powder to her nose. They forgot to take the powder up, and they won't tell us that she died from natural occurrence. That's not going to work. Those of you who are on fellow Liberians, hit the share button. You listen to Mr. Lama as well. How the police is undermining the case. They are delaying. They have even denied him. They have even denied them of seeing their own loved ones, to even have access to the gadgets, like phones, laptops, and so forth. The guy who they had the gadgets, you know they release him? He's not in jail again, or they release him. His name is Ortega. They found the laptop with him, the phones with him. The police allow him to go. These people, you know, that's why I said the only thing right now all of us can do, two things. If the international community does not want to help us, all the people come in the street. Come in the street. You see what happening in Nigeria? You think Nigerians joking? They're sleeping on the street. The government confused right now. The government has met their first set of demands. They have put out a new demand again. They're in the street, nothing happening. But Liberians are so scary and afraid. If all of you come in our street, Latin Joe, we are doing what these people bad is, he's joking. All of you come in the street, just shut down the whole country until we can get something out of these four auditors death. Shut down the entire Broad Street, shut down the airport, shut down everywhere. Until we can get an outcome. Until we can get justice. But Liberian people sitting, until they kill you before you act, by that time you'll be late. Joe, we are okay, everybody in our country, then nobody will be living to act or take action. Nobody will be living to take action if Joe, we are kills everybody in our country. The best time to take action is now. Look at what is happening in Chile, Nigeria. Citizens are standing up for their rights. There is nothing wrong with protests. Under the Constitution of Liberia, specifically Article 17, protest is permissible. It's allowed under our law. In fact, it is the basis of good governance and democracy. The justice system is weak. You waiting to say, oh, we will go to the court? The court will be on the side of we are. You think you get anything called justice system in our country to depend on? You saw how the justice system of the country was exposed by the public designation of Andrew Wampler. You didn't see it recently? You didn't see it recently? But you're sitting looking at we are killing our people? It's really sad, eh? You listen to the husband of Gifty? Today on 50-50, he said, let me quote him directly. Let me quote some of the things he said. He was very succinct and very clear. They don't trust the government. They don't trust those pathologists even because they are government-hired pathologists. No, they don't. Anybody who do. You know, those pathologists were hired by the government. They were hired, authorized to perform autopsy by the government. You know, fellow Liberians, the country is in trouble. The man who said he requested U.S. government's intervention, he rushing with autopsy. He can't wait. U.S. government has not replied. All of us are making effort for the U.S. government to intervene and bring in international forensic investigative panel. All of us making effort. We're engaging stakeholders around the world, human rights groups, and so forth. The man can't wait though. He rushing with autopsy. There is an established motive. Why are you rushing with autopsy? The family not rushing, so why should you be rushing? The family says they want justice. They are not rushing to bury. No, they are not rushing. So why is we are rushing for the family to do autopsy, to do the work with all the involvement of international intervention, as he requested according to him? You know. So Sylvester Lama said this morning, we do not trust the system. The process is compromised. We are sending an SOS call to the international partners to help us. And I just want to add my voice to the voices of family members of the deceased to call on the international community, the U.S. government, ECOWAS, UN, AU, EU, and all other international partners to help. Because this thing has the tendency of instilling fear in the population and instilling fear in professional Liberians who are responsible to expose public graft and corruption in government. Because if we do not get at the bottom of this thing, there's a likelihood that no auditor, no financial expert will be willing to expose anything. It will just be like that now. Because all of them will be afraid before they kill them. All of them will be afraid before they kill them. You see what they're doing to the journalist now? Julius Jesse, the guy who got the facts about Emmanuel Niswa's death and decided to publish it in the Power newspaper. The Power newspaper now is being cited by international papers because they too have the facts. And just what the Power newspaper reported is the same. They have. So why are you chasing Julius Jesse? Samuel Twe instructed personnel of the NSA, National Security Agency, to viciously pursue Julius Jesse. Julius Jesse, as I speak to you, is on the run. I told him like a few hours ago, and he chose to send me. Listen to Julius Jesse. Flames. And if we don't stand up to save our country, if we don't act now to rescue the republic, Mr. Weah will destroy that country. I'm going to play the voice of Julius Jesse. Listen to Julius Jesse. How he is being chased. Since last weekend, Julius is being chased by ruthless elements in the National Security Agency on the orders of Samuel Twe and his gangs. So listen to Julius Jesse on this audio he sent me.
My name is Julius T. Jason II. I am an associate managing editor of the Power newspaper. Last week, Monday, I published a news story in the Power newspaper on effing the circumstances that occasion the death of the former boss of the Internal Audit Agencies, Mr. Imaya Batten Yenswa, who was murdered by a higher assassin of this government, by death squad set up by Samuel Twe and the incident management team. We got our sources. Our sources are within government, very credible and unpinchable sources within government that says to all that there was a recent audit that was conducted by the former head of the Internal Audit Agency, Mr. Batten Yenswa, on funds that our government received to fight COVID-19 in our country. After the conduct of the audit, his draft report was presented to the Ministry of Health, the incident management team, and all those authorities involved to be able to give the responses to the draft audit so that the findings can be released. It will shock you to know that in that draft audit, corruption, graft, theft was uprooted. The incident management team and Samuel Twe squandered the Liberian people money, and after that report was presented to them for their responses, they made several efforts to reach to the deceased Director General Yenswa to be able to cover up the report, to be able to conceal the report on ground that it was too damaging, it was too damning, and it will undermine the credibility of the government and bring the government down, especially so in critical election time like these, the opposition may just ride on it. Given the resistance of the deceased Director General Yenswa to buy in submission to the will of Twe and the incident management team to be brave and cover up the report, they murdered him. They murdered him because he could not raise his family credibility. He could not raise his credibility. He could not raise his reputation.
They murdered him.
Since I published that report that had gone viral, my lab has been aggressively pursued by higher assassins. The death squad of the NSA, they've been after me. I'm in hiding. I can go in public places. I have not been able to go to my working area, the newspaper. I have not been able to go to places that I normally work. I normally do my daily hustles. They are after my life. They have been sending me threatening messages on my phone, on my messenger, on my website, that they will eliminate me, that I will be killed. It's shocking, it's saddening that we live in our country. People who are leading do not have the intellectual wherewithal to be able to combat us unreasoned argument about the affairs of our country, so dependent to elimination of opposition people who remain opposed like me to the policies and program, they indulge into violence. So they've been pursuing me so aggressively. They've been sending me threatening messages simply because I expose, uncover, and uprooted the actual circumstances that occasion the gruesome murder of the former Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, Mr. Imaya Batten Nyenswa. And sources within the government confirmed that to all, that he was murdered on account of his refusal to conceal and cover up a damaging audit report on the COVID-19 form. And Mr. Batten Nyenswa, from what we learned, told TWE and the incident management system that this morning that have come in our country to combat the scourge of coronavirus is donor money. It is not the Liberian taxpayer money that they can eat as usual. And then the international community, our donors, partners, will demand report, they will demand accountability, and he owed it to them. He said to them, I don't want to be treated like the way Andrew Womplu was treated here. His family were denied entry into the USA on ground that he was involved into a passport scandal. So he doesn't want that what he told them to be treated. He has his credibility, he has a reputation to protect. He's been saying to them. So hence his resistance to bow into submission to cover up the report and said Bravo and TWE and the incident management team. They murder him.
They murder him.
That is the story.
Those of you who are on Hit the Share button, invite citations.
And reported in the Paris newspaper. Since then, they have been sending NSA death squad at my home. They have been sending NSA death squad at my office and all other places that I have worked, and to public places I used to be, to aggressively pursue my life. In hiding since then almost a week plus. I can come outside. I want to send this information to the international community that my life is in this government hand. My life is in the hand of Samuel TWE, who has unleashed his death squad on me, that they should eliminate me at all costs because he believed I get more information to reveal to the Liberian people. I have the audit report in subsequent weeks to reveal to the Liberian people. So they've been pursuing my life so aggressively. We cannot live in our country where we do not embrace alternative voices, that you do not want people to demand you as a government to account to the people.
The man got a whole audit report.
The government and the people enter into a social contract, and the Liberian people elected this government to be able to deliver, to be able to ensure probity, to be able to ensure fiscal discipline in the management of our state resources, transparency. We cannot live in our country where people are suffering state resources, they are suffering donor money that are coming for the development of our country and frustrating the aspiration of our people. Then we sit down as an independent people, as an intellectual, as journalists, as newspaper entities in our country, and we witness the brazen misrule, the corruption, the plunder, and the loot of our country. We owe an obligation to our people. So I can say that we will remain resilient, we will remain hopeful, but yet we want to sound this caveat that TWE and the incident management team that aid the international community funds that were intended to fight the scourge of COVID-19, to eliminate it from our country, and given that I, as journalist and editor of the private newspaper, has exposed their abuse, their loot, and how they corrupted funds intended for COVID-19 combat. They have decided to pursue my life. In hiding, they have been sending me all sorts of text messages threatening my life, that they will kill me, they will come after people behind me. So I want to let the world to know That is the situation now.
My people, this is the editor of the Pirate newspaper in Liberia. They are also online. You know, he's been threatened. He's being chased by the government of President Weah. That the government of people get power to. They're pursuing journalists, critical journalists, whose intent is to expose them. This man has the entire audit report. Damn me. And I'm hoping to get the audit report for him very soon. He was the very first that reported on the assassination of Niswa Emmanuel Batten. Because somebody leaked the entire information to him. So he reported in his newspaper. Now Twe is chasing him through the NSA. Twe is using those assassins within the NSA to chase him, to pursue him. You see how the country has transitioned from democracy to autocracy? There is no rule of law, no freedom of speech, no freedom of the press. Mr. Weah is the ultimate. Anything he says is final. He has total control of the state. He has excessive power.